In November of 2023, the Swell Pod took a 10-day journey across 5 states, traveling 3,580 miles with one challenge in mind.
And that challenge was to interview 100 pleasantly rebellious humans to uncover deep truths about what it takes to create something that has never existed before, challenge the status quo, maybe even change the world.
This is the Kiln Road Trip, created and produced by the Swell Pod.
In partnership with Kiln, Moterra Camper Vans, and sponsored by Taurus.
I'm Spencer McKeown.
And I'm Josh Taylor, and together we're the co-hosts of the Swell Pod and your guides on the Kiln Road Trip. Follow along on the journey.
Be sure to subscribe to the podcast, follow the Swell Pod on social media, and subscribe to your YouTube channel at, you guessed it, the Swell Pod.
This is interview 92 of the Kiln Road Trip, and today we're at Kiln Leucadia in California talking with Daniel Godbout. Daniel is the CEO and co-founder of Arrivo, a property management solution to simplify and streamline your operations. Thank you for tuning in to today's episode. We hope you enjoy.
Daniel, welcome to the Swell Pod and the Kiln Road Trip.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for having me. That's awesome.
Being one of the 100, I'd love you to just explain who you are, what you do, and why you're so passionate about what you do.
Yeah, so my name's Daniel Godbout. I live in Oceanside, California. I founded a company called Arrivo. It's a property management software company for small to medium-sized businesses. Before that, I worked at Sony PlayStation for about a decade. I ran the global infrastructure division there and just kind of always been in IT and technology. But along the way, I always had this like side hustle in real estate and investing, and that just grew over the years, and I became really passionate about it. And really just like running a business and creating things from scratch. So the two came together, and I have a co-founder, a very similar story, different part of tech, but the two of us came together on that. And he also happens to be my brother-in-law. But yeah, before all that, I'm originally from Minnesota, but grew up mostly in California. Kind of spent a few years in different states and moved around, just taking on job opportunities and things like that. But the company I founded, Arrivo, is now about 2.5 years in its life, and it's been an adventure.
In relation to, I don't know much about software that relates to maintenance. I know
Property
Entrata.
Yeah, it's in the space. Yeah, for sure.
In that space there because we live in Utah.
Okay,
but that's a big player there. Tell me about how. Sorry, go on.
No, you're right. That's definitely one of the incumbents. Probably there's a couple others that we run into a little bit more. Some people might hear of like AppFolio, Buildium. There's the RealPage companies. And so there's this like category of these like incumbent property management software solutions. And we can get into that more about why there needed to be a new solution. But
yeah, that's exactly what I was going to ask.
Right,
That'd be awesome.
Why is it? And I guess also, how did you find that, and say, decide I'm going to do this?
Yeah, I mean, a lot of that was from my firsthand experience as an investor and a manager, landlord, and just being involved in these real estate communities. Like we host one here in North County, San Diego. And there were these solutions that had been started up, like 20 years ago or so, but none of them really catered towards the real estate investor who might have properties in different markets. And they also didn't really focus on those property managers who are getting started and trying to establish their business. So it was more of like an enterprise solution made for these bigger players. And so what it meant was that if you were kind of the smaller one in it, that you just would have to do things manually. There was no system for you. And that's because the business models are too expensive, they're too complicated. They just didn't have you in mind as kind of an individual business owner or an investor. So that's really where we focus to start. And over time, we'll go up market, and there's ways we kind of see bigger opportunity in the market. But that's kind of how we approached it.
That's great.
That is great. Yeah. And so you've been full-time at this for 2.5 years, you say?
Actually, not until last September I was full-time. So we started the company in 2021, May.
Right.
But it wasn't until September last year that my team all went full-time. We just hit a point where we believe we had our MVP in place, ready to go. We had our first couple of customers. Personally, we were all ready to make that leap. And It also coincided with us getting into an accelerator, which required us to be full-time. That was Techstars last year.
Oh, interesting.
Yeah.
What has the accelerator done for you? How's that helped?
Yeah, it's been huge. It actually was Techstars Boulder. There happens to be another kiln over there, which is another like totally different kiln experience, which is awesome. And they were like tightly, there's a cool like community built around that. But the accelerator for us really taught us a lot about customer discovery. I would say that's what we needed more than anything. It was before sales, before you can really sell to anyone, you really need it starts with customer discovery and figuring out who your ideal, like your ICP is, your ideal customer persona. And that was key, but there's so many other things, the network you get with Techstars, and just learning how to build a healthy, sustainable business with an eye towards like venture capital.
Yeah. And what has been maybe one of the bigger challenges that you faced in building this solution?
There's a lot. Like every day there's something. Some things I can't talk about, but no, there's I think like figuring out that we really needed to get in front of our customer a lot more. It's probably a common theme. You get a lot of tech kind of founders or co-founders who think the product is just going to like generate sales on its own, and that's not your background. And then when things aren't going well and you're not selling things, you want to build more, like to fix it, and it doesn't work that way. So getting out to talk to customers and figuring out who's not your customer, what you're not going to build, that's probably more important than anything, or equally as important. And just like the tool set that you need to develop, like you need to get comfortable with the sales side of it and figuring out which is going to work in your market. We had to learn to meet our customer where they were. Not only there's like different demographics, different parts of the country. They're used to different tools and processes where, I'm working for a tech company in Southern California. It's just a different mentality than someone who's, used to doing something a different way, even other countries. It's kind of figuring all of that and just listening to your customers. And the more and more feedback you get, the more data you get, that's super important. Lately, the biggest challenge has been more operationally for us. Like we're breaking things. It's become a more of a quality issue. And so we've had to institute a lot of like systems to correct that. But I think we're going to get past that hopefully in the next couple months. Yeah.
Could you give me an example, if possible, of when a customer has helped shape what it was that you were building and maybe caused you to pivot or alter what you originally assumed would be the right solution?
I think every sale is that's worth a lot, right? When someone's actually like transacting and they're saying, okay, like I'm willing to bet on you. These are some gaps that you have, and they're willing to pay for that. That's the biggest, that's not just an opinion. They're willing to back it up, and that has a meaningful impact on your business. So, that's definitely one way we've seen it. We've also had a lot of customers who invested in the company, and that was another way where we just saw like a huge vote of confidence in what we were doing. I mean, 6-figure investments from some of our earliest customers. So they were, at skin in the game at every level of it, and it became also like a partners was like trifecta of things. But you always hear about like new features, and those are kind of dangerous. Like, well, which one do you chase? Like at first we were excited to hear about like, can you build this for us? Or we would buy it if you had this in place, but that's dangerous. You hear that so many different times, and it happens to be a unique snowflake, like every single one of them. So trying to see patterns, and there's some intuition and other things that go into it. But, we had to make some bets. Some of them worked out really well and some of them didn't. And like over time, you just, like adjust your processes. Like when we lose a deal, we try to figure out, well, why did we lose it? Like what are the notes? And when we won something, getting that feedback, I think it's a lot of little tips and stuff that we learned or tricks over time where, you might be hesitant to get a survey from someone until they've been using your product for 6 months. But one of the best times to probably get that survey is like in the sales cycle. Right. For a lot of different reasons, but like they're motivated, but it gets buy-in from them. They're going to give you immediate feedback on that, what the process was like. And as a startup founder, those first steps are probably some of the most valuable in figuring out why they went with you, right?
Yeah. Because you want it to be as
I mean, effortless as possible, as early as possible, right? That's what you're talking about.
Yeah, exactly. So, at first we've tried a lot of different things, and I think that is like a key factor for a lot of successful startup companies, and is not only being able to try things, but integrate that knowledge very quickly and keep iterating, because there's a lot of things that just don't work. But when it comes to, like, say, a survey, you might want, like, it can at first be random, like, well, let's ask Josh, 6 months in, if he's willing to, and then it's going to be on one platform and not another. And later on, it might be automated, and at a different stage, you might not get any kind of interaction from your customers on that. But it's just testing those things based on your industry. It's probably different. And like, we're in real estate tech, it might be different in education or another.
Yeah, that's good. What is your vision moving forward then? Like, I don't know, I don't want to say how many years in the future, but what does that roadmap look like?
Yeah. One thing, we try to introduce like some high tech features right off the bat, like machine learning, and we were looking at some AI use cases like right at the beginning of the company, and that was a differentiator for us because it's such a competitive market. But it turned out to be kind of a mistake in that we weren't meeting our customer where they were, and so now we've kind of flipped it in that we have some of those initial features we built. They don't get the usage we'd like to see, but we've kind of changed our mindset in that a lot of those features, and I think this would apply to a lot of other companies, that can be more of a scale factor. You really need to figure out how to get those customers to make those sales and solve the today problem. But then you can introduce the things that probably VCs and your team are going to be excited about for the future. And those kind of stories, I think, like, that definitely is like for the roadmap, and to unlock so many other things that's going to beat those bigger competitors in the space. But that's how we've had to think about it. It's like, what do we do to solve the problem today? And when we look at the roadmap now, it's more of like we're building an ERP system of like one module after another. So we started with these SMB property management companies. We're handling their money, their accounting, maintenance, and a bunch of other features. But there's other ones where we do a lot of data automation with like documents we ingest and other data sources. So some of that is a little bit early for our customers. And we didn't realize that until we started talking to enough of them. They're like, no, I want to collect money. I want to be able to send it. I want my costs minimized. I want the reports. And so we're trying to be a little bit more methodical about that and get the data points. And so some of that is just going to be a learning experience we haven't figured out yet.
What's it like building with your brother-in-law? How's that been?
It's been fun. Like, I think when we started, we're probably like the best of friends, and now there's like, there's contention, and we're coworkers and colleagues, and we love it. We butt heads a lot, like a lot, especially like lately, because it's getting more operational on the tech side, and that's his area, and so, but it's like a healthy conflict. I think we both would agree on that. We have to like, reset from time to time, but
like on Thanksgiving.
Okay.
Right.
Okay. Like, that's what we're really getting at. I don't get along with my sister as well anymore. No. It actually, so, one of the negative consequences is that you always want to work on the startup. So we bring it to vacations. We bring it to Thanksgiving. We've gotten a lot better about that in the last 6 months. But prior to that, we were probably ruining a lot of trips because we're like, we'll be back in a couple hours. We're just going to go like work on this in the office for a bit. And then, it ends up being 5 hours, and we're still talking about it when we get back. Yeah. So that's the unintended consequence. But, you learn, you adapt. Yeah. And I think it doesn't work with all family members. But one of the benefits, if you can kind of make it work, is that it's another reason to make it successful. And you need every single reason to say like, hey, we can't mess this up. Like, a lot of the family are impacted by like this decision we made and this path we put everybody on. And we didn't, a lot of the wives and the kids and everybody else, like they didn't sign up for this the same way we did. And we didn't know what we were getting into. So they definitely didn't. Right. So it's been a journey. We figure it out. It definitely is one of the biggest challenges. Like, how does a startup like impact your personal life? Yeah. Financially, like time with kids and family and all the other stuff.
Yeah.
Well, that just go into that one question. Did you have another one before that?
No, I think we can go into that final question. So as you're a couple days away from Thanksgiving, I could say good luck, but no. So the last question that we ask every single person that comes on the podcast is, what does it take to create something that has never existed before? Before we get into the rest of the episode, we want to thank the partners and sponsors who made the Kiln Road Trip possible. The Kiln Road Trip is brought to you by Kiln. Kiln is a boutique co-working and flex office community with 13 locations in 6 states across the West, dedicated to providing innovative workspaces that empower your team to thrive. Whether you're a solo visionary or an enterprise-level team of up to 100, Kiln transcends being merely a place to work. It's a hub for learning and connecting with like-minded professionals that will make you and your team love where you work.
And if you haven't stepped foot inside a kiln yet, you really need to. On this road trip, we visited every single location, and trust us when we say once you see these beautifully designed spaces, meet the talented team, and connect with fellow members, you won't want to work anywhere else.
Locations include Utah, Colorado, Idaho, Oregon, California, and Arizona. And they're growing too, with multiple locations set to open in 2024.
Yeah, so be sure to check out the kiln locations nearest you by booking a tour at kiln.com and answer Swell in the question, how did you hear about us? Once you complete the tour, you'll be entered into a competition where you could win a 1-year membership, their club membership at Kiln.
Yep, you heard that. That's kiln.com, book a tour, and be sure to mention Swell in the question, how did you hear about us?
The Kiln Road Trip is also brought to you by Moterra Camper Vans, a luxury camper van rental company for iconic road trips. Their top-of-the-line vans are available at 7 locations located near America's best outdoor adventure destinations. They have consistently earned the highest customer ratings in the industry, making Moterra camper vans your gateway to adventure without sacrificing on comfort or service.
That's true, and initially we wanted to take this journey in a 1960s VW bus, but thankfully we found Moterra instead. With 3 van options, we took the Pop Top Classic, which sleeps 4 and is best for those who want to maximize floor space and storage. This was critical for us because it needed to sleep the entire crew, we needed space to edit, and we were traveling with large amounts of equipment, luggage, and other goodies that we picked up along the way.
And this van took us through all 3,580 miles of the trip. Super comfortable and sweet to drive.
And actually, Moterra offers fully planned itineraries if you'd rather leave the planning to someone else.
Visit gomoterra.com/swell. That's gomoterra.com/swell.
This episode is also brought to you by Taurus. Taurus is leading the charge in home energy storage. Taurus makes it easy to achieve energy independence and a greener tomorrow. The Taurus station provides everything you need to generate clean power, efficiently store electricity, and easily manage your energy use.
And installing a Taurus station offers plenty of benefits, including save money on your electricity bill,
also ensure energy security with backup power during outages,
reduce carbon emissions with renewables.
You can also automate EV charging and HVAC systems with 100% renewables.
And enjoy unrivaled system monitoring and support.
If you like the sound of those benefits, get a quote to build your Taurus station in less than 30 seconds. Super easy at taurus.co. That's TORUS.co. Now, let's get back to the episode.
Yeah. I think there's a lot of intangibles or like things that are hard to really like connect to, but it's like a vision that you have to believe that like to your core, because you're going to get a lot of people backing you in the beginning, most likely. Over time, there's a lot of doubt and things that are, you're going to get challenged, whether it's competitors, it's going to be doubt from family members. Like, you get these subtle questions from, it could be your parents or your spouse or anybody that almost sound like, hey, is this going to work? And those are tough. So you really have to believe in your vision at your core and willing to put everything on the line, because you're going to need that perseverance more than any other skill. Like, I think you can be really smart. You can have a great idea and product, but if you're not willing to go the distance when you think there's like no other option than to quit, I think that's what it takes to bring something new that doesn't exist in the market today. And it's just like constant, like it's compounding effort and iterations that you make on your company, yourself, the business, all that.
Thanks for tuning in to today's episode of the Kiln Road Trip. Be sure to follow along on the rest of the journey, and you can do that in two ways. One, subscribe to the podcast, whether you're listening on Apple, Spotify, or maybe even watching on YouTube, and follow along on all of our social media platforms, whether you're on LinkedIn, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter, or TikTok, at the Swell Pod. Thanks again, and we'll see you in the next episode.